I am 20 years old now. Even after some time, it still shakes me up to say out loud, I'm not gonna lie. With each year that passes, it feels like time that's being taken, mercilessly ripped away from my grasp. I watch my friends and family make these great strides of achievement in their lives, and here I am, the same way as I always am, left to drown in my sorrows and failure as I look out the window at a world that no longer needs me. So, what will I do about it? Alright, I'm kidding. Well, not entirely. Let me explain. After a while of being bankrupt in just about every sense of the word, you start to grow complacent with suffering, with no real progression happening. On the outside, you might appear to be lazy, unbecoming of anything meaningful, just a pile of flesh that keeps itself alive to see tomorrow, literally being saved only by your survival instinct. But on the inside, you're holding in a lot that you never even processed, or hell, even had the chance to process. Stuff that lives in the attic of your mind that you don't ever dare to touch. So, uh, how does this relate to regular show? Just listen. As you and I both know, because you clearly clicked on this video, regular show is anything but. The whole idea of the show is that there is way more than what meets the eye. And you can say that about a lot of things, sure, but like regular show, our minds do a terrible job at showing others just how chaotic things can get, often in mere seconds. It's kind of funny, really. Not funny in the sense that you're going mad with no way to express it in a I have no mouth and I must scream kind of way, but more in an ironic one. And I believe a cartoon from 2010 made by a dorky college student has the key to this problem. Just bear with me. Remember what I said earlier about watching others actually do things with their lives? Well, I meant that literally. Every time I open social media, it's like looking through a mirror of what could have been, what I could have aspired to be, had I ever given it the chance. And in that empty comparison, the purpose of my own desires get diluted with that of someone else's. Such was the case for Mordecai, who, throughout the show, flirts with his lost love for art and dreams of going to art school. Of course, he's no Picasso, but it clearly feeds his mind and creativity that hasn't been seen in him throughout the entirety of the series, up until this point where it finally reaches out to him after years of him neglecting it. To be fair though, it wasn't his fault, as Rigby was the one who forged his rejection letter, doing this to keep his friend, in his eyes, on his level. Because unlike Mordecai, Rigby had to find his true source of fulfillment. It wasn't fast food, video games, wrestling, or causing mayhem. It was love and the warmth of acceptance it greets the heart with. To find someone willing to encourage him through his quirks, and to help him see that there was more to everything than the mundanity of chaos, and to finally put purpose behind his actions. This is what Mordecai found in art, a form of expression, something he's displayed time and again that he sucked at.
Well, I understand if you want to fire me.
Fire you? I think it's great. The brushwork, the composition, the raw energy perfectly captured my misunderstood personality. You're actually a really great artist, Mordecai.
Thanks.
It took them both a while and years of being yelled at by Benson, but they got it in the end. Funnily enough, Benson, like Rigby, was just as much of a troublemaker after his days as a drummer came to an end. He saw in Mordecai, and especially Rigby, his very own irresponsibility, the immaturity that guides people to inaction. You could argue that Benson is like the sole reason why the park employee is actually going someplace in life, and you wouldn't be wrong. But when it comes to our dreams, we can get caught up in the superficial, or perhaps those very dreams are superficial themselves, not providing us with anything with proof of longevity, or at the very least, satisfaction, true satisfaction. Thinking about them realistically doesn't have to always be so disappointing, just healthy for both the mind and the heart. It blows that they have to be cut short or changed entirely to have meaning, but that's a part of maturing, outgrowing things that no longer fit, which sometimes even includes people. And oh boy, don't we all know about that. These characters have a lot going on relationship-wise, romantic or otherwise. While I'm talking about Benson, I might as well use him as the first example. Everyone had that one person that made them feel their best, someone that reminded them of those glory days, and just like that, within the blink of an eye, they're gone with the wind. Benson got that pretty bad with Audrey, his neighbor who he had a crush on. We never really even see how they break up or the circumstances surrounding the breakup, but it would suck to finally build up the courage to be with her just to lose her anyway sometime later, especially considering that Benson has strove to struggle with speaking up. In the episode with his dad, he tells his son that he won't get anything if he doesn't yell for it. More debilitating than his timidity and inability to properly convey how he feels is his desire to do so. Though being the cause of most of these outbursts, Rigby is probably the one who relates to Benson the most, believing his best days are already behind him, causing so much trouble and being lazy because of this lack of self-esteem.
My dad, he was always like, your brother Don is so amazing. Just go back to being a screw-up, Rigby. I don't even understand half the reasons I do the things I do. I'm expected to be a clown, so I'm a clown. But clowns cry too, man. Clowns cry too.
In the flashbacks, you see it stem from being the overshadowed elder brother of Don. His much taller, cooler, successful, handsome, intelligent, charming, you get the point. And from his father, who never cared to trust his son even into adulthood. In the end, he found someone that brought the vision back to his eyes, that broke the rearview mirror and pushed him forward in his life. Of course, this was none other than Eileen. Just a barista who loved science and wanted nothing but to see the best in everything, even to her own detriment. And the detriment Rigby was. For as much stress this man probably caused her, he reminded her that it's perfectly fine to have fun amidst the immense pressure to do everything right the first time around. And she reminded him that, despite being the textbook definition of a troublemaker, he was still worth a damn and actually meant something to the people around him, even if he himself could never see it. You see this dynamic in the relationship between Muscle Man and Starla, who often wanted nothing else but to be the best version of each other for one another, though in often unconventional methods. And in comparison to Rigby and Benson, Muscle Man's father was a polar opposite in influence to his son, being the reason for his aim to be enough for those who need him. They all found each other's missing pieces to the puzzle, which not many people ever get to do. Like Mordecai. If you know anything about Regular Show, you know about this guy's terrible love life and interpersonal relationships in general, but it's not entirely his fault. Often Mordecai finds it to be his responsibility to be the person that everyone needs, reliable in just about every facet, but it's also that same idealism and the pressure that comes with it that makes him dysfunctional. He talks about wanting to leave the park to do something bigger, but he has no idea what that looks like and is too scared to even take that leap. Every time a situation calls for Mordecai, and just Mordecai, he shows up as someone else. This eventually pulls over into his love life, as he spent so much time crushing over Margaret instead of just actually talking to her. When he finally gets her, fate screws him out of their relationship. Then he screws over something good with CJ because he just can't let go of the past, where so much of his personhood remains.
Part of me is still waiting for Margaret to come back.
Daddy's girl.
What? Still? She's not coming back, dude. She's gone.
Look, I know, all right? I know. It's just, I mean, I don't still have feelings for her, but I do in a way. It's like this thing that's inside of me, and it's always just sort of sitting there, waiting around. And sometimes I'll see something, or I'll smell something, and it makes me think of her, even though I don't want to. I really like CJ. She's amazing. But is it fair for me to go out with her if I still think about Margaret sometimes?
It's clear from the start that his compulsion to be so embarrassed of who and where he is in life keeps him in that very place throughout the series. After rewatching the series recently, I realized that it's by sheer miracle that, despite everything, he had friends to pull him out of his own hesitation, the eternal purgatory that he created for himself. He was even more lucky that, of those friends, were the most experienced people with loss, namely one in particular I have yet to mention, that being Skips. Of everyone I've brought up so far, Skips has probably the most tragic relationship with love. To have time brutally come in between you and the one you desire most time and again is unimaginably painful. The cruelty of knowing that you wouldn't be who you are without that painful memory lingers on even hundreds of years later. But in a way, his immortality is almost emblematic of his resilience and his will to make something of it, to not allow that loss to be in vain. It's how he's become so reliable, trustworthy, and a valuable friend to have. Regardless of the embarrassment we may feel, what gives us purpose is the community that we built for ourselves, through the empathetic and pride-killing efforts to make our surroundings just a little more inviting for everyone. Unfortunately, in the absence of pride often comes doubt. I know I'm not alone when I say that having a sense of belonging feels more like a reward than a natural occurrence these days. With each day we find ourselves longing to justify our existence to no end for people made up only in our minds. Though he did it to the highest extent, it wasn't just Mordecai trying to satisfy an image, it was everyone. The world constantly demands people out of us that don't exist. No wonder we can't grow up, when we spend so much time tending to a character whose story has no ending. If you can't understand the ridiculousness of literal fire-breathing snow monsters, portals to other dimensions, and magical titties, how in the hell can I ever hope to move past a breakup? How do I love when love hates my guts? How do I finally tell my boss to go fuck himself? I should be out living my life, telling stories through art, not tied down to some crappy dead-end job that pays pennies and siphons my soul through the clock-in machine, and the soft, scorching whisper of stale, reheated coffee that tells me I'll work here until I'm dead. That's no way to live, man. I and a lot of other people have far too many things to say that don't deserve to die with us. So many conversations that we wish we didn't have to have with ourselves. The solipsistic ruminations bouncing between the thin walls of my brain tell me the only place this road runs is south. Then the nihilistic ones on my shoulders tell me it shouldn't matter whether or not I crash and burn on the way there. So, the only logical conclusion is to just let myself keel over and die. There's your ending for you. I'm gonna go play my crappy guitar and play video games. At least then, I'll die doing something I'm familiar with. And maybe that's the whole point. We end up taking refuge within inaction, not only because of the familiarity we have with suffrage, but because it's more convenient to confide in our terrible self-esteem than to fucking fail trying. It's easy to believe in the clean slate skim milk versions of ourselves because they don't have any of the weird quirks attached to them that we're told from so young that we must hate. It's never been about a lack of belief in anything. It's the presence of belief in the wrong thing, the life that doesn't serve us and our peers, but the faceless corporate and governmental machine that seeks solely to serve ideas rather than tangible, cold, hard reality. In the end, nothing fucking matters. And that's what matters. Craziness is everywhere you turn your head. Relish in it, appreciate it, because you only ever get to experience it once. That's the only thing regular in this world. Fuck the boring, unpolished turds that tell you otherwise. And having your fun doesn't mean complacency. It's just letting flowers grow when there's no sign of a sun. As bleak as it all looks, like us, those turds someday will be repurposed into fertilizer for the ground beneath us, and that much is irrefutable. But that doesn't mean that we can't experience everyone and everything in the process. To me, that's the way to live. The only way to live.
I can't believe it's been 25 years.
Yeah, I wish Pops could have been here to see this.
Well, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have this.
Yeah. Hey, do you think those old video games are still in the shed?
Yeah, we should check it out for old cart's sake. Whoa!
I can't believe we used to do that.
Your eyes staring into my eyes. Who am I but a guy with two eyes on the prize? And the prize in my eyes is 10 times the surprise in your eyes as I kiss you goodnight. Your smile is the fire that rocks my soul. Gonna remember it until I grow old. This life is too short, we gotta do things right. So baby, let's just party tonight. Baby, let's just party tonight.